Howdy folks, this is Mike Lane. I'm trying things a little bit differently for the blog that I've been writing for a little while and not doing any writing. Instead, I'm just going to take a little video one shot and I'm not going to edit it. I'm just going to put it online and get some feedback from some friends that maybe don't have my best interest in mind and allow me to put the biggest pieces of garbage I can come up with, aka my voice. And you can now see how much I've got a face for radio. But today, I want to talk about something that has come up recently in the lab. And we had a good conversation with one of our students about, this reality. And that's going to be simply this, okay? It's that science, okay, doesn't care, okay? Now, when I say that science doesn't care, what I'm talking about is when you're looking at research, when you're doing research, your goal is not to push your agenda. At the time we were doing research, which we're currently still conducting, where we're looking at the effects of taking in an energy drink on reaction time, mood, and then power performance in just two different tasks. And the student, when asked by one of the subjects, like, what are you hoping to see? And the intern was like, oh, I want to see this worked and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, that's not why we do this. We do this to try to figure out, does it work? And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, great. Because at the end of the day, we got a result. So whenever you're going and you're performing this type of research, or any research, you're obviously going to develop your hypothesis. This is done by you look at the previous research, you see what people have obviously done before, and maybe, which is rare in this world, you replicate someone's study to make sure that it actually does work. And the reason, which I'll touch on briefly, is we have this thing called statistics. Statistics are how we're able to show, through utilizing a sample of individuals, how effective or ineffective something is. Now, at the end of the day, saying something significant is we have what's known as you've got your alpha level, and real statisticians are going to start cringing because I'm trying to explain it. It's essentially a child trying to talk about cold fusion. But what you have is an alpha level that if your results fall within so far off of the bell curve, what we'd consider to be normal, then we consider those results to be significant. So often what you'll see is a p-value of 0.05, which means that if we took a random sample of individuals 5% of the time or less, we would end up with this big of a difference from the mean. Now, yes, this means the chance of this happening is relatively rare. But for those of you guys that were nerds growing up and played Dungeons and Dragons, that means you got a 1 in 20 chance of this happening on accident. And I'm not willing to bet my family's lives or my life on research that just shows that, this maybe was a fluke that we got this result, or maybe this is legitimate. And that's why when we look at this science, it's not about one research article. It's not about two different studies. It's about seeing this compendium of knowledge that's been developed over time that's shown that this result has consistently or not consistently been seen, been observed. And the other thing to keep in mind is the context of the research. What we do, we utilized college-age volunteers, which means we've got kids that are from 18 to, I think the oldest we're going to allow in the current study we're utilizing is 30 years old. So at the end of the day, if we find this is significant, awesome. But then what can we say? Well, we can tell you, we get this result in people that happen to be 18 to 30 years old that just so happen to live geographically somewhat nearby where we're working. So does this mean this is going to work for every single human being on the planet? No. Are we going to be providing energy drinks to children? No. Unless they're paying us money, then I'll think about it. But in all reality, keep in mind the context with the research that you're looking at, which is the sample that we are applying this to. Are you in that sample? Is this something that's relevant to who you are? You can use the example of protein killing your kidneys. That's completely correct. If you already have kidney disease or renal failure, you do not need to take in a lot of protein if you're on dialysis. That's a horrible decision. But healthy individuals, Jose Antonio recently has done research where he's having people taking in 4 grams per kilogram of body mass a day. They're no worse for it. So keep in mind context of who you're working with. But at the end of the day, just remember, science doesn't care. It's just simply a number of individuals working collaboratively to figure out what the real truth is. And it takes a long period of time and a number of people performing the research, not just once, but over and over again, showing that whatever results we're having are consistent. So yeah, one study might show that something's significant at a 0.05 value. That's great. But we want to see this has happened not once, not twice, but tens, if not hundreds of times. And at that point, like, all right, is a chance that you're going to roll a 1 on a 20-sided dice, you're going to roll a 1? Yeah, it's going to happen. But are you going to roll a 1 a couple hundred times in a row? Statistically, yes, it can still happen. But those odds are incredibly small.